came for me at dusk. The light was kind to the hedges, kind to the roofs. It felt wrong that the street could look so gentle when something so harsh was walking down it. I heard the boots first, the drum of them on wet stone, then the coats, in the faces, a clipboard, a list, my name on it. My father got to the door before the knock could finish. He wasn't a large man, but he could take up the whole doorway when he wanted to. My son belongs to God first, he said. His voice didn't need to be loud. It had something in it that made men stop and listen on Sundays. The sergeant didn't stop. He belongs to the country tonight. He looked past my father, past the hall table with the bowl of keys, past the little cross on the wall. He found me. He didn't look cruel, only busy, like a man finishing a job before the rain picked up again. My mother pressed my Bible into my hands. The cover was worn smooth at the edges from years of being carried to church. Read Psalm 23 and Psalm 91. Before every battle, she said, no matter what. She said it like a fact, not a superstition. She said it like lock the door or mind the kettle. Ordinary, necessary. I wanted to tell them I wasn't afraid, but my mouth was full of metal, so I nodded. I let the soldiers take my elbows. They guided me down our little path. Past the rose bush my mother kept trimming back, past the window of my room where the curtain didn't quite meet in the middle. I did not look back. If I had, I would not have gone. I know that about myself now. At the camp they shaved us. They shouted us into lines. They turned sleep into a thing you earned by being tired enough to fall over. The food was hot when it was there, and that felt like love. They told us the French were the enemy. They said mercy is a hole in the wall. They said if you don't cut it out, the whole house falls. That line stuck in my head. I didn't believe it, but it stuck. At night I lay on a rough mattress. I learned the ceiling by heart, tried to pray without sounding like a child. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. I kept my voice low so the other boys wouldn't hear me. Some nights I swapped to Psalm 91. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High. Those words felt like a coat you can put on. When the wind finds your bones. There was a Sunday before the war that kept coming back to me. A French pastor had visited our church. He preached careful English. He smiled with his eyes. His wife wore blue. She sang like she meant it. Their daughter sat in the front row, dark hair pinned back, hands folded. I noticed her because I was a boy. She was a light. But the thing that wouldn't let me go was at the end. My father recited Psalm 23 in French, line by line, slow and careful, like a man stepping stones across a river. I had never seen him cry in the pulpit. He cried that day. It wasn't loud. His eyes filled. His voice shook, and he kept going. I didn't ask him why. I wish I had. They sent us out when the ground was still hard with frost. Our packs made us small. The first shell I heard felt like a train tearing through the air, like it was riding broken tracks, screaming the whole way. We learned fast. The sounds our mouths made when we were scared. I learned how to eat standing up, how to run bent low, how to sleep with one boot on. I learned that men can still be kind, even when the world gives them no reason. One day the sky hung low, the earth started to shake and burn. The blast hit close. It knocked something loose inside my head. The world went white. When I came back, everything was gray. I was on my back, face in the mud. My fingers didn't feel like mine. The sound was far away, stretched thin. Through it all, the voice, soft, steady, not English. It was someone reciting Psalm 23. The words were a rope in the dark. I grabbed it with both hands and held on. I saw my father reading that same psalm in church, his eyes full of tears. The pastor's family in the front row, his daughter with her head down. I lay there and cried without a sound, because the tears came whether I wanted them or not. When I opened my eyes, the voice was gone. Men were moving. Someone pulled my shoulder and shouted in my ear. I tasted dirt. We moved forward, because going back was worse. By midday, I was cut off. Only one other guy with me. Short, fast-talking. Looked like he didn't believe in peace. We found a barn. Door half open like a broken mouth. We went inside. The air smelled of old, hay and fear. 2 boys were already there. Wore enemy uniforms. skinny, worn down. One kept his hand on the other's sleeve, like he was afraid he'd float away. He saw us, raised his rifle. Mine came up too. Muscle memory. Hands know what to do before the mind catches up, for one heartbeat. Any of us could have ended it all with a trigger. Then it passed. I don't know who moved first. But suddenly I crashed into someone. My shoulder hit his. My rifle fell into the hay. My fists went to work before my mind could stop them. It was my size. We were both clumsy with fear. We slammed each other into the walls, breathing fire. I remember his eyes, because they weren't what I expected. Not wild, not angry. They were steady and full of sadness. A shot cracked the room in half. My comrade fired, the other French boy, the one who had not been fighting, dropped as if someone had tipped him out of a chair. He hit the straw and stared at nothing. The boy in front of me forgot I was there, fell to his knees, pulled his friend's head into his lap, spoke quick French like rain on a tin roof. I knew enough to hear the shape of it. I knew more than enough to know he was praying Psalm 23. When it is prayed with a breaking heart. In French he said, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." He put his cheek to his friend's hair like a brother. I stood there like something lost. My comrade laughed. There was no joy in it. "God does not hear French," he said. "He speaks English." He stepped forward. He pointed his rifle at the kneeling boy's head. "Let us see who he hears." The kneeling boy did not look up. His lips did not stumble. He prayed the valley like it was a road he had already walked. He gave his friend to God. His hands were shaking. He did not ask for anything back. It was a moment when you were either going to find out you were a coward or you were not. And you were going to find out right then. I stepped between them. I do not remember deciding. "Do not kill this one," I said. My voice sounded wrong in my own ears. Thinner and older at once. My comrade tilted his head, like he was hearing a bad joke again, as if checking whether he had missed the funny part, Movie said. He shifted the muzzle an inch, reminding me the gun was the main voice in the room. And then the roof screamed. The wall kicked. The world turned into light and nails and breath and nothing. A shell had found us. When sight and sound came back, I tasted smoke and iron in my own mouth. 2 sets of lungs were working in the wreckage, mine and the boy who had been praying. The other 2 were gone. I rolled and gagged. I put a hand to the small Bible in my jacket. It was still there. The boy stood, swaying. A slash of red cut across his brow. He looked at me. He did not grab for his gun. We watched each other like 2 men who have seen the same ghost. He spoke first. "Jean." He touched his chest. "Jean, Indy," I said. Somehow, that was everything. We did not shake hands. We did not make promises. We listened to the world outside breathe and growl. We found 2 different holes in the wall. We left like 2 rabbits who had decided to live. I did not see him again. It would be easier in the telling if I had. People like tidy endings. But God sometimes leaves the rope loose. The war kept going for a long time. Then it slowed. Then it ended. I came home thinner in places no one could see. I helped my father in the church when his voice grew tired. I married a woman whose patience was a stronger shelter than any roof. I had a daughter, Marie. She walked into rooms like light. I never told her about the barn. I never told my wife either. I told God, but he already knew. Some nights I heard the boy's voice again, half in sleep, half awake. The French words would come soft at first, then clear. Like someone in another room practicing a song until it belonged to them. I let it pass over me. The tightness in my chest would loosen. The years put silver in my father's hair. They put sermons in my mouth. I learned to say the Psalms in English like a promise, and in French, like a memory. I thought often about asking my father why he had cried that day in the pulpit. I never asked at the right time. He died before I could. Some answers you only meet in heaven. Marie went to France to study. It pleased something in me I could not name. Her letters smelled like train stations and fresh paper. She wrote about professors, about mistakes that turned into blessings. Then a name appeared. Lucio. "He's a Christian," she wrote. My wife's mouth went thin. "Where are all the British boys?" she asked me. "They are not all gone," I said, but my voice was tired. Marie came home for a month. Her face was a little thinner, her eyes a little older. She asked to invite Lucio to dinner while his parents were in London. My wife set the table like she was drawing battle lines. Forks straight, knives turned just so. "They are rich," she said in the kitchen, as if it were a kind of danger. "We are not poor," I told her. "You love him for his money," she told Marie later. But even she did not believe herself. "Let us see who he is," I said. It was not a bold thing to say, but sometimes it is the bravest thing you can manage. At 7 o'clock, the bell rang. Marie opened the door. A young man stepped in. His manners made the room feel safe. Gave my wife flowers without making a show of it. He told me my house smelled like warmth. He looked at Marie as if she was something given to him, and he meant to guard it. I reached for the wine. My fingers forgot their work. The glass tipped. Red spilled over my hand. It did not break. I muttered about butterfingers. But the truth was, my eyes had found something in his brow, in his shoulders, in the quiet of his eyes. And I knew it from somewhere else. We spoke of small things, trains, studies, the rain in London. My wife softened. The boy did not perform goodness. He simply stood in it. The bell rang again. A woman entered first, graceful without trying. The kind of hands that have worked and comforted. Behind her a man, the cut of his coat, the silver at his temples, the way he looked around the room as if saying thank you before speaking. Then his eyes met mine, and everything changed. "Indy," he said. I knew his name before he spoke it. Jean. We hugged like men who had learned that touch can carry more truth than words. We sat because our legs were unsteady. We ate because our mouths needed something to do. After a while, I put my fork down. We should tell them. It sounded like a question. It was not. We told it all. The battlefield. The shell. The voice I thought was my father's. The barn. The fist fight that was not about hate, but about fear. The shot that took a boy. The prayer that rose anyway. The cruel words about God not hearing French. The gun. My stepping in the way. The roof falling in. The dust. The two of us. The names we spoke. The escape. We told it without polishing it. When words ran out, Jean looked at me. We had not planned anything. He began Psalm 23 in French. I answered in English. The table did not move, but the room felt different. Our children heard every word. My daughter's hand gripped the table. Jean's son's eyes shone. My wife, who had once asked where all the British boys were, was crying quietly. Later, Lucio told us he sometimes prayed Psalm 91 in French before saying it in English. He never knew why. Jean smiled like a man who had just been given back a missing piece of his life. When they put their coats on, Jean turned to me. "I never forgot you," he said. "I never forgot you," I answered. It was the easiest line I have ever spoken. After they left, the house was very quiet. Like a church after everyone is gone. My wife took my hand. "God hears French," she said. I laughed. I cried. He hears the silence too. Sometimes faith is only this. Two hands on the same rope, speaking the same psalm in different words. Not letting go. After they left, I stood at the window. A car light slid down the street. I could still hear Jean's voice in my head. Not from tonight, from 20 years ago. Marie came beside me. She leaned her head on my arm. "You never told me you knew them?" she said. "I did not," I answered. Then I stopped. I knew him once she looked up. Her eyes were searching my face. But she did not push. Sometimes my daughter knows when to leave a door closed. Went to my study. I pulled the Bible from the shelf. The same one my mother had given me that night. It was still scratched on the corners, still smelling faintly of straw and smoke. I opened to Psalm 23. My lips moved over the words. I could almost hear two voices now. One in English, one in French. They were not competing. They were holding each other up. Sleep did not come quickly. When it did, it carried me back. Back to the barn. Back to the dust settling over us like gray snow. Back to Jean's eyes, steady even when the air was too sharp to breathe. I had questions now that I had never thought to ask then. Why did he not shoot me when he had the chance? Why did he pray for his friend instead of reaching for the gun? And the deepest one? Why did God put the rope between us at all? The war had taken so much from both of us. But somehow, It had also given me something I could not name until tonight. It had given me a brother I would not see for 20 years. A brother who spoke a different language, but prayed to the same God. I thought maybe he had known something I only learned in the dirt and smoke, that the Psalms are not owned by any country, that God listens in every tongue. A week later, a letter came. It was from Jean. His handwriting was careful, like each word had weight. He wrote about Lucio and Marie, about how he had prayed for his son's future wife since the day Lucio was born, about how strange it felt that those prayers had crossed an ocean and found my daughter. He wrote about the war, how he had once prayed that his bullets would never find their mark, how he had asked God more than once to take him home alive so he could become a man who healed instead of a man who destroyed. And he wrote this: I never knew if you lived, but I prayed for you every year on the day of the shell. I prayed you were somewhere safe, with people who loved you. Reading the Psalms, I sat at my desk for a long time. I wrote back. I told him the truth, that I had never forgotten his voice in that field, that sometimes I thought it was the only reason I kept walking that day. Months passed. Letters became visits. Visits became plans. Marie and Lucio announced their engagement in spring. Our families met again, this time under clear skies. At the wedding, Jean stood beside me. The church was full of flowers and laughter, and the kind of light that feels like it comes from inside the people, not the windows. We watched our children make vows. They promised love and faithfulness in English and French. No one translated. No one needed to. When it came time for the blessing, Jean and I stood together. He began Psalm 91 in French. I followed in English. Our voices wove like threads in the same rope, holding something up, holding each other up. After the reception, Jean and I walked a little way from the noise. The air smelled of grass and the faint salt of the sea. He said, "Do you remember the rope?" I frowned. "What rope?" "The one God throws you," he said, "when you are drowning. It is never the rope you expect, but it is always enough to pull you back." I understood then. We had been that rope for each other, in the barn, in the wreckage. In the years after, even without knowing it, we stood in silence for a while. Then he smiled. "Next time," he said, "let us meet somewhere quieter." We laughed. We went back to the light. And I thought about how sometimes faith is not loud. Sometimes it is simply holding the same rope, in different hands, across years and oceans. If you're wondering about the lesson here, it's not something I can wrap up neatly. Here's what I do know. Mercy isn't just some empty space. It's the solid wall that keeps everything together when chaos hits. God doesn't pick favorites. He hears every language. He listens to the prayers in a barn, the boy who stands bravely between a gun and a prayer without a plan, and the mothers pressing small Bibles into trembling hands. He sees the fathers trying to hold the doorway against the night, even when they can't stop it. He hears the silence after an explosion and the sound of a wine glass slipping from a man's fingers when reality hits hard. Isn't that something? If you need proof, I can show you the mark on my knuckle where the wine ran red that night. I can show you a table that is just a table and also an altar. I can take you to a barn that is mostly gone now and tell you where the door was, where you can look at me and Jean on a bench by water, feeding bread to birds. See two old boys who never finished the fight they started because God decided to finish something else instead. I have wondered who woke me the day the shell knocked me down in the field. I used to think it was my father's voice come to fetch me. Now I know it was Jean, not knowing he was holding a rope on his end while I held mine. We both held on, and somehow that was enough. Sometimes that is all faith is. Two hands on the same rope, saying the same psalm in different words, not letting go.
Some stories end loud, with sirens, shouts, or a slamming door. Others end quietly, like a candle burning out at dawn. But all of them leave something behind. A question, a scar, a prayer. I fold this one away, not to forget, but to remember that even in the ashes, God still speaks. Until next time, my name is Gilbert, and I am the listener.